Hey there, baseball fans. Nathan Rohde and Shooter Hunt here with the latest episode of Coffee and Curveballs. Shooter, we've updated the 2020 rankings looking at the draft class. Last time for, the summer, fall before we head into the spring. So we're going to talk about some guys that we think could make a jump come springtime.
Yeah, fall season's over now. I'm sure all the pro scouts are starting to lock down where they're headed in the spring, but it's really the draft season's speeding up on us now, and it's exciting. But these guys we're going to talk about have a good chance to pop.
Yeah, there's always some guys that go into the offseason, hit the weight room, and they come out in the spring and are like, wow, where'd that come from? So today we're going to take a look at some guys that we think could make a jump. The parameters are about 25 guys went on day one last year, 25 high school guys, that is. So if they're outside the top 25 of our list, those are the guys that we're looking at. But some of these guys could also find their way into the top 100, which would put them kind of in that PBR draft board range. But let's start off in the state of Utah with Joey Dixon, a Stanford recruit. He's really athletic. Shooter, you and I have seen him up to 93 at area code games. He's got feel for a changeup with sink and fade. The breaking ball shape varies a little bit, but he flashes sharpness. A lot of upside to this guy. Really, the big question is just going to be, signability when it comes to that Stanford commitment.
Yeah, tough to pull him away from the Cardinal, but I love Dixon out at the area code games. Thought he showed impressive stuff, could be a starter down the line, and it's going to come down to that big spring in Utah.
No doubt, big spring, probably a cold spring. So, but also in a cold weather state out of Iowa, we've got right-hander Carter Baumler, who's really athletic. He can swing it a little bit. If he did get to school, you might think he could hit as well, but he can really spin it on the mound.
Yeah, I love the upside of the athleticism. I think that's what pro scouts are going to love even more. It's a low, creeping up into the mid-90s fastball, real good breaking ball, downer curveball. But like you said, that upside coming from Iowa, not as much polished just yet, though it's real easy out of the hand. Mm-hmm. That potential there is going to be something to follow throughout the spring, although it's going to be a late spring in Iowa because they won't start playing until, I believe, May.
Yeah, exactly. So one more guy on the mound for you before we get into some hitters. We got Ronan Kopp out of Arizona. Left-handed pitcher. It's really loose and athletic and easy. The stuff doesn't jump off the page right now. You're not going to talk about it, being a low to mid-90s guy right now or a big-time hammer or things like that, but it's coming along.
And I think all those things could definitely be there in the spring. Big, loose left-hander. Southpaws are highly coveted in the draft. And if we're talking about Kopp come springtime up to 94, 95, even 96, I wouldn't put it past him for bringing that kind of stuff out there.
Mm-hmm. Moving on to some hitters now. We got a guy out of Southern California that you're a huge fan of, Shooter. You talk about him all the time. But out of Huntington Beach, we got Jake Vogel.
Yeah, since the first time we saw him with the Oilers there at the Boris Classic, watching Vogel play, it's a treat. And to see him continue to become more physical, he's about 5'10", 165 pounds now. It's real speed, can hit from the right side, but he's just a gamer. And I don't want to call him Matt McClain, who was a first rounder a couple years ago at UCLA now, but it's that smaller physical frame, but really gets after in the field. And those SoCal guys, they can really play.
Yeah, they really can. Speaking of a guy, it's kind of a similar tool set. We got Carson Wells out of Nevada, the younger brother of Austin Wells, who's currently at Arizona. A left-handed hitter, really twitchy guy, quick hands, really loose at the plate from the left side nonetheless. Above average to plus runner. We saw him at area code games, and he definitely stood out there.
Yeah, he just looked the part of a pro prospect. And I think I turned to you after. I was like, this guy, he's going to be tough to get him on campus because he just looks the part right now. You want to get him into the farm system, get him as many at-bats as you can.
No doubt. Lastly, we're going to the Great White North, and that's Owen Casey. Had a strong tournament 12, 6'3", 190, good runner. He's actually, I guess, technically reclassing in a way. Canada, you have the option of taking the extra year of high school, but he, as well as David Calabrese, are going to graduate early, putting them in the 20 class. But Casey's got a chance to make a jump for you.
Yeah, shout out George and Kemlo up there who are always piping him up. I mean, Casey's now just become a one-name guy for our conversations because he's been so good for them. But with that frame, we saw him a couple years ago at the Future Games where he shined. He's become even more physical, real feel for the barrel from the left side. I mean, he's a 6'6" runner, also 103 exit velo. There's a lot to like in him. he's going to be a solid draft on one of those first 2 days.
Excellent. So there's a look at some guys that we think could make a jump in the spring. So be sure to check out prepbaseballreport.com for the updated 2020 rankings. And as always, if you got any questions about those rankings, be sure to hit us up on Twitter. But as always, for Shooter Hunt, I'm Nathan Rohde. This was Coffee and Curveballs. And until next time, we'll see you guys at the ballpark.